Okay, before we go on to the actual practice of downloading data and making things with that data, and also talking about some composite indexes that we have tried to before, that we have made, and I want to familiarize yourself with it also. We're just going to have a very short session on dashboards, right? We've seen so many dashboards so far. Dashboards. So basically, the characteristics of dashboards, and we are not going to go into how to make dashboards because those wireframes and all that are made by professionals. They use their own SQLs and whatever. But theoretically, there are three types of dashboards that you have to understand. One type of dashboard is what we call static dashboard. A static dashboard is you can't drill down any further. It is a basic, whatever you see is the only information that it gives. It usually gives you what we call summary statistics. Now, for whom is this important? At a national level, a static dashboard or summary statistics is, let's say, important when someone is reporting to the PMO. Or in your case, it could be important for somebody who is reporting to the Chief Minister. The Chief Minister doesn't need a whole load of data, just wants to see what is happening in the state as a whole. So at a broad overview of either a scheme or certain other indicators, but static data. He doesn't want to drill down any further, he wants overview data. So this is like an overview. So that's the first type of dashboard, which is a static dashboard, which gives you overall statistics. Usually it is not very useful for people like you and me, because we want to drill down deeper, but it is very useful for people at the top level, who doesn't want to look at so many data, just wants to, he wants to, okay, tell me Meghalaya, what is the situation in Meghalaya? I don't want to look at what is happening in this village and that village and all that you guys figure out. So that's the one. Second type of dashboard is, it gives you overall figures, but it also allows you to drill down, like we saw in most of these things. You can choose a state, within a state you can choose a district, within a district you can choose a block, within a block you can choose a Gram Panchayat, right? So it allows you to drill down further. So that's a dynamic dashboard. Yes, the first one was a static dashboard. The second one is a dynamic dashboard, in the sense that the data on it can change on a regular basis. Like I said, something like a Manrega dashboard, the data will change every day. In some dashboards, the data will change on a monthly basis at the back end. But most importantly, in these dashboards, you can get multiple views. You can drill down further and get more disaggregated views. The third type is dashboards which are progress monitoring dashboards. These progress monitoring dashboards are what we call live dashboards or real-time dashboards. Live dashboards or real-time dashboards, it's not written here, I'm telling you, are essentially dashboards which which tells you the progress of anything on a real-time basis. Right, on a real-time basis, things will change. Like for example, suppose a field work is going on, you're doing a survey. Yes, you're doing a survey all across Meghalaya. You create a dashboard which will tell you district-wise what is the total sample that has to be covered, urban area, rural area. What is the total number of sample that was covered since yesterday? What is the total number of sample that has been covered today? Within the sample, you might want to have 50% male, 50% female. So you will see whether the field work is going on a 50-50 split or is it a 60-40. Then you can call them up and saying, boss, you have to sort of interview more females than males. So that is almost on a daily basis when you create a dashboard which helps you do monitoring on a daily basis, usually surveys. That is what a real-time dashboard is, right? So three, a static dashboard, a dynamic dashboard and a dashboard which looks at real-time data. She's going to take you through a few of the examples. This is important. Why? Because at some point or the other, with the data that we use, we want to make it into a dashboard to present it to a third party. We don't want to make it into a report. So that's why it's important to find out what goes into that dashboard, right?
Alright, so the first one, that is the static dashboard. So we have taken two dashboards here as use cases. The first one is the soil health card dashboard, and the second one is the PMEGP MIS portal. I'll take you through the soil health card first. So this is how it looks like. So this is the soil health card one. It looks somewhat like this. It gives you the top level statistics as we mentioned earlier. So for example, what was the status in cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3, what were the model villages, what were the macro level statistics in these model villages, how many samples were collected, how many of them were tested, how many soil health cards were printed, and how many of them were distributed, right? Now there is no detail here as to which
and there is no option also. There is no option to go and select to drill down any further.
So these are just all India, this is just an all India picture. You cannot go and select Meghalaya or select the district or the autonomous district council or the sub-district level of your choice. And if you go to the PMEGP MIS portal, this is again something very static. It tells you, how many applications were received, how many of them were placed, how many of them were forwarded to the bank, how many of them were sanctioned by the bank to transfer the direct benefit to their accounts, how much of the margin money was released, how much margin money was claimed, so on and so forth.
But all summary statistics, no further disaggregation.
And when you click on read more, it doesn't really give you a lot of details. It simply shows the same statistic again in a bigger font. These are some of the rudimentary visualizations. They'll make a bar graph and a pie chart of the social class of the applicants. How many of them belong to general, SC, ST, OBC, minority.
But remember, if it's the chief minister who is looking at it, this is enough. If it's the departmental head looking at it, they would definitely want to go down further. They are not interested only in summary statistics. So these type of dashboards are only used for the topmost level, right? Any level below that, you want to go create a dashboard which allows you to drill down to the lowest level of the factor. Let's see.
Now here comes the micro level picture. So the second type of dashboard, which are dynamic dashboards, where you can drill down further from macro to a micro level. There are two use cases here. One is the Rural Quality of Life Index, and the second one is the Swachh Sarvekshan dashboard. The Rural Quality of Life Index is it's a proprietary of the Development Intelligence Unit, and it's a product made for the Ministry of Rural Development. We'll come to it later, but I'll first like to take you through the Swachh Sarvekshan dashboard. We'll dive deep into the Rural Quality of Life Index later. So the Swachh Sarvekshan dashboard, as you can see here, it gives you all these options to select the territories or the geographies of your choice, the zones, the year that you are interested in, and it gives you the overall statistic, summary statistic. But like we said, you can select the geography.
Yeah, so you can select a state. Within that, you can select a district. Within that, you can select ULB's urban local body. Like for example, let's select Meghalaya.
Okay, I had selected Karnataka here for a use
Can we
case.
go into this?
Let's do a live thing here.
Do 2022. Yeah. So it gives you overall statistics, and then let's say you select Meghalaya. Yeah. So let's say select any one district. Which is the district? This is East Khasi Hills, right? So yes. You will be naming. Do you select Shillong? This is not select all. It is not important. Plan status, plan type. This is you selected only waste processing facility.
That's what happened when I clicked on the dashboard.
Oh, okay. Well, because it's automatically selected
It's
on.
selecting waste processing automatically.
So it gives you have selected 27 wards, total number of wards, total. There are 2 plants, waste processing plants here. It gives you all the necessary information that you require for that. It didn't have any data on the actual bulk of waste which is processed. Right, but essentially what we are trying to say is that this is the other type of dashboard where it allows you to drill down to the data further and further. This is typically going to be useful for people who at your level where you have to take certain decisions and you can't afford to look at a data at a all Meghalaya level. You want to definitely look at it by ADC. Within that, you want to look at it by district, probably sub-district level also. So you need dashboards which allow you to dig down further. The final level of dashboard is the one which allows you to do real-time survey. Real-time data. There are some, like I said, the most known dashboard for real-time is Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Generation program, but we are not going to talk about that. This is essentially real-time dashboard is something which you built in order to monitor surveys, right? All of you at some point or the other might have to design a survey and run a survey for your departments. So if you should make a very simple looking dashboard which allows you to report on the progress. You might want to report to your bosses that, okay, this is the progress, not only on the progress that there has to be 10,000 households, till yesterday they had done 6,423 households. Not only that, you might want a little bit more detail that, okay, in how many households were a male respondent or a female respondent, in how many households the family, maybe by family size, or something like that, some additional data which is also important. So you can create a dashboard which picks up, where this data comes from. Usually these days all data is, the real-time dashboard only works if the data is being captured by phones or tablets. If it is by pen and paper, it will not work. Because pen and paper, once the survey is done, then only you enter the data, it won't work. But if you are capturing the data using mobile phones or tablets, and you are syncing the data whenever it is finished. Suppose they are working somewhere where there is no internet connectivity, that's okay. They can save it offline and they will go somewhere where there is internet connectivity and they can sync the data. Once that syncs the data, then these dashboards through APIs will pluck the data from the cloud and automatically update it into the dashboard. That's how it is done. So let's see some.
Now remember, there are 2 interfaces to such kind of dashboards. One is, like Sandeep said, that data collection for such dashboards happens through apps or through phones or tablets. So one is the data that is being fed by the enumerator or by the field staff, and the second interface of the data is the dashboard that the a program manager or a field manager or a project manager would be looking at the back end. This much has been the progress, this much data has been, sample has been covered, and so on and so forth.
One of the important things as a researcher, what is important, why this sort of dashboard is important, is that suppose you have to do a large survey, Meghalaya based survey, and the first time that you see the data is when the survey is finished. And then you see there is something, maybe your training was not right. People didn't understand 2 or 3 questions and you've already got garbage data. Then what do? Your survey is over. But if you make a dynamic dashboard which captures real-time data from the cloud, then at least on a day-to-day basis, you can monitor and track certain key indicators. And then you can immediately find out if there is any problem, you can call that team. Okay, boss, I think you have not understood. You have to be retrained. You can monitor progress by team, by individuals.
Now the use case here that we are going to see is by 2 organizations. It was a service entitlement survey by the Transform Rural India Foundation and Dhwani Rural Information
Simple
Systems.
Service entitlement survey is very simple. There are government schemes, there are welfare schemes of the government. Every villager says, if you are a villager who is BPL, below poverty line, you are entitled to certain schemes. There are certain other criteria also, but let's just say that if you are a below poverty line household, you are entitled to a house. Yes? If you are a farmer, you are entitled to a Kisan credit card. If you are a farmer, a small farmer, you are entitled for a crop insurance. If you are below poverty line, you are entitled to a health card, which gives you 5 lakhs free, 5 lakhs of some coverage, health insurance coverage, all of these. So service entitlement is simply this. We are going to look at an app where the survey is being done household to household to find out, number one, is that which are the services you are eligible for, which are the services this household is eligible for, and number two is enrolling that household in that for that service, right? First finding out eligibility, and number two is finding out and doing the enrollment. They have to be enrolled. They have to fill up certain forms and all that to become enrolled. Right.
So, for example, in this case, they did the campaign, ran the campaign, and they were entitled to services at 3 levels. So, whenever they were doing the registration, when they were doing a survey, it was done. The data was fed at 3 levels. One was the household registration, then second was the member registration, and third was where we were talking about the service application and progress. Now, once all the enumerators have fed this data on the cloud, I mean, they've synced all their data in the cloud, we can then generate dashboards and reports. Now, how do we do this? Like we mentioned, it can be done via a web or a mobile interface. Now, suppose we're talking about a mobile application. One can go to the Play Store and download the survey app. And
normally these apps are created in Android and they are accessed through the Google Play Stores. They put it in Google Play Stores and they apply it. So and every user will have a user ID, they will have a password.
An enumerator will be given these credentials and they can go and select the language. For every case, they can tap on continue and go to the app dashboard.
For example, Mission Antyodaya. Mission Antyodaya, the survey that is being done on the ground by the cluster resource persons. The app was developed by NIC in Android. They have downloaded it. There are some, if I remember correctly, there are some 2.5 lakh feet on the ground who are actually running this survey. They have this interface, the data capture interface, which is in Android, downloadable by Google Play Store, and the data is being captured. Every asset, pictures are being taken. Every asset, like for example, you're going and asking whether there is a primary school. They are going to the primary school and taking a photograph. Is there a common service center here in the village? If there is, they are going and taking a photograph. Every asset that is there in the village, a photograph is being taken. All of this is being done and then uploaded into the central server.
So, for example, in this case, when we are talking about the entitlement services, the enumerator clicks there and goes on to these 3 buckets of registration: household, member, and the service progress. So, these are different steps that the person follows when he is doing the household registration. He can click on adding a new form, or maybe if he wants to look at what are the draft applications and completed applications, how many of them have been synced, because at times there is no internet connectivity, right? So when a person goes to the network area, he can turn on the sync and make sure that all the forms that have been saved as drafts are completed, all of them are synced in total. And if they have to be reviewed and edited again, that can be done as well, right? Now, again, these are different features of the same.
Till the forms are saved in draft, it does not go into the central server. So that means it does not reflect in your dashboard. But the moment it is synced, it is automatically linked into the dashboard.
Now the part 2, which was the web MIS details. What will you see as a
this is what you will see.
Or project manager?
Again, you will have your own ID and password. You will fill that in.
And this will be your MIS page. Now, once you enter here, you can go to the entitlement dashboard. You can click on any of these buckets to see how many of them have been registered, how many members in that household were registered, how many number of SHGs in that household were there, and so on and so forth. Similarly, you can go and have a look at the consolidated data in the forms of pie charts or bar charts as well. So, different questions that you have asked in the survey, all of them can be featured as these visualizations, right? So for example,
and the height will automatically change every time a data is synced.
Right.
For every household, you finish every household and you will sync the data.
These heights will
all
be
of this will be automatically changing. Right. So this gives you an absolute real-time status of the survey.
Right. So for example, in this particular case, the what was the application progress? 53 of them were having access to banking or allied services, 155 of them had documents and services, 92 had cash transfer services, etc.
The reason why we feel it is very important to take the pains of not just to run a survey but actually develop a back-end dashboard for the survey is that it will help you immensely in monitoring the data that is being collected. Again, I am saying that if you have run the survey and the first time you are seeing the data is after the survey is finished, you have had it. 9 times out of 10, you will not be able to explain the survey only, the result only, because the data has been captured wrongly. You start looking at the data on a daily basis. Suppose there are 30 teams on the ground. You know, this data is sophisticated enough to tell you team number 4 and team number 8 have not understood the survey. Everybody else is doing more or less okay. But you have to scrap this team. Either you have to bring them back and retrain them, or you have to scrap it.
We'll show you another use case of what Sandeep is talking. That's another example.
Right.
Now here, for example, these highlights basically prompt you to what are the good features of a dashboard. So for example, one should be able to download the data, in a user-friendly format. You should be able to click on an icon and see the preview of that data. You should be able to put some filters and see, okay, if I want to see that out of the 200 samples that I've covered so far, how many are male and how many are females? Or suppose if I want to see what is the average family size of the samples that I've covered so far. What was the date of survey, the particular date that particular applicant was surveyed, and so on and so on.
I'll give you another good example. This is something which happened with me personally, and I'll tell you. We were doing this project for the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. It was called Ease of Living Index, where 260 smart cities were being surveyed to look at which is the better smart city, right? It was a competition of sorts. And we were reporting directly to the Joint Secretary, who is also the Mission Director at the central level, Mr. Kunal Kumar, IAS officer. And every second day he used to call us from our office to understand progress. Every second day we had to go all the way from office, do all the passes and do everything, go to his office, make a stupid presentation, same thing we used to present every second day, and it wastes a lot of time. Then we decided that, okay, why don't we make a progress dashboard completely? And we spend some money, we spend about half a week or a week creating as much of, putting not only progress but also in critical indicators, progress indicator. Simply went to his office, taught him how to use it, and we never had to go and report to him again. He can click it 10 times a day and check it, whatever he wants. It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to call us to find out how it's going, right? So that is also a very, very big utility. Okay?
Now next is a program dashboard. Now, like Sandeep was talking that, you can identify the cluster of the teams or, the field supervisors who haven't understood or haven't received the training very well. So you can identify that which, team is going wrong, or, in which particular area sufficient sample hasn't been achieved, or what's the progress so far. So that's how one can maintain a simple Excel-based dashboard as well. So for example, here we have the survey details, we have the contact points, coordinates of the field team managers and their contacts. We have which all districts is the survey running in, their subdivision, the villages, what's the project status right now. Team 1 has interviewed which of these territories on which dates, and so on and so forth. Similarly, you can have another page of the dashboard as to see what has been the project, and so it's, for example, a treatment under control coverage. So for example, in which areas was the program running and in which areas the program was not running. Suppose if I want to cover 20 villages where the program was running and 20 villages where the program was not running. So how many of them were sampled, how many of them were covered? You can see covered versus targeted. I targeted 75 villages in Aurangabad, but I had covered only 54 in Aurangabad as of 14th of June at so and so time. So this is real time.
And you can do this by team, so you can know which team is doing well, which team is basically not doing well, and they will have to be called and so on and so forth. So this is essentially a very good thing to do field management. So people who want to, I mean, unless like you have sort of outsourced it to a third party, then that's a different, then that's their headache. But if you are in charge of doing it yourself, then you would want to
do something like this.
Yeah.
Similarly, you can
create, and even an Excel-based dashboard can also create graphics on its own.
Right. Let's start with the data surfing and extraction exercises.
Go to RQL.
So we have already covered MA in the morning. We talked about how one can go and download the data, right? We had to feed in our communication details, name, email ID. They used to send us a download link. We can click on that. Zip file is sent to us, right? That's how we can work around Mission Antyodaya. The second up is the Rural Quality of Life Index. We'll take you through this, and we would also like you to go through the different data sources that were used in creating this index, and we would like you to download different data sets for the exercise that we are going to do tomorrow. Alright?
This will include departmental data from here.
Yes.
A lot of you will have departmental data access, right? So you can download departmental data.
So for example, if we had consulted, suppose UDICE for the education related indicators in the Rural Quality of Life Index, maybe Meghalaya has its own data repository.
Does the education department in Meghalaya have a website? Is there data in the website?
Health has. So, majority of our indicators that we took in health for creating this index were sourced from NFHS. But if Meghalaya State Department has its own website and it has its own data repository, you can go visit that website and download the data from there as well.
As long as it has district-wise data.
Yes, and we'll use it tomorrow to create our own index.
Okay, so right. So rural quality of life, we are essentially using this as an example. We would like you guys to, we'll give you the URL and you can actually they can do it. No problem. She's a little bit skeptical because it has not been released by the minister yet, but that's okay. You can, as long as you don't share, we are fine. We are fine with it. But the reason, just understand the reason why this was created, and this was created on behest of the Secretary Government of India, Secretary Rural Development Government of India, where there was a conversation saying that the rural population was 833 million as per the 2011 census. As per the projected 2011 census, it was bigger than Europe and Australia combined. So it's huge, right? And it's a major focus for policy. Rural is a major focus in the last two budgets as well. But despite the fact that rural India is so huge, and there is so much of, in fact, the 15th Finance Commission has put in so much of money for rural development, is that in no other Finance Commission have they put in so much of money that has gone in this time for rural development. But despite rapid strides made in India over empowering India's vast rural population, there is very little data which helps you understand rural. A lot of the work is either combined or there is a lot of research going on in urban. If all industrial research, because the industries are located in urban, de facto it's urban. There is very little disjointed data which helps you to understand rural, especially the life of people living in rural. So that is why the mandate that was given to us was that can we create something called a quality of life index, not a poverty index. Please understand, this is not a poverty index. Poverty or income is just one aspect of quality of life. Quality of life encompasses many different things, right? Quality of life will have health as an aspect, education access as an aspect, gender empowerment as an axis. There's so many things which are engaged in quality of life. So, she said first define quality of life in the context of rural India, then study international best practices on different indices and find out how they are defining quality of life, and then create a quality of life index for India which ranks all the rural districts. He said forget about the government urban districts, like Delhi is an urban district. Yes, Delhi is primarily all urban. Calcutta is an urban district. The district of Bangalore is an urban district. District of Mumbai, Puducherry, Chandigarh, they are all urban districts. So forget about that. Define what is a rural district and take only rural districts and rank. Number one, rank rural districts on the basis of their quality of life. Number one, and this quality of life has to be a composite concept. It cannot be a single concept. It has to encompass a whole lot of things. Number one. Number two is that it should not be just stopping at creating a rank. It should be a planning and development tool, whereas somebody who uses this tool should be able to see that, okay, I am out of 700, I am maybe 500 something. I'm not even 1, 2, 3. I'm 500 something. Why? Why have I done so badly? Right? Is there certain sectors which I'm doing okay, or are there certain sectors which I'm doing really badly? That is why my ranking has gone so bad. And within these sectors, which are the indicators which I should be working on? So, as a person who has to make a decision at the district level where my district investment has to go over the next 5 years, can I through this index find out where are my problems? Where are my problems? Which sector is my problem? Within that, which indicators are my problems? Right? And do that. So, not just ranking, but also a development tool. So, this is, and there are other ancillary things also, like for example, of course, it will guide your 15th Finance Commission this thing, but another important tool which the Secretary told us that is that look at CSR funding now. CSR, which is corporate social responsibility funding, every corporate is doing their own thing. Yes, Tatas are doing their own thing, the Birlas are doing their own things, the Mahindras are doing their own thing, the Vedantas are doing their own thing, everybody has their own thing. Even Lanco is doing prosthetic limbs, right? Although that's the health sector. He's saying that can we use this index to inform corporate India that if you want to work in this particular district, then these are the areas which is a problem in my district. This is how they sort of link back to the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and therefore the funding in some way is not just funding this or funding that, all that funding is focused. You want corporate India to fund in such a way so that India meets its social development goals, right? The Sustainable Development Goals. Why should Sustainable Development Goals, which has been signed to by India to reach by 2030, some in 2025, some by 2030, be only the responsibility of government? It should be the responsibility of civil society also. It should be the responsibility of private corporates also. So instead of private corporates deciding only among themselves that they want to fund this, they want to make a bus stop over there, they want to repair one school over there, but they want to donate 10 laptops or desktops over there, why can't there be a direction in the funding saying that if you're going to be working in this district, then these are the areas where you have to fund, right? That makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, but the corporates don't know that. Can we create an index which tells them what to do? So, these are the reasons why this Rural Quality of Life Index was created. So, we did a lot of studying and we realized that quality of life can be defined by these 9 thematic areas, right? Agriculture, economic ability and employment, because money is important, employment is important, then education, then gender, governance, health and nutrition, infrastructure and amenities, social security, and finally sustainability and climate change. These are the 9 big ticket items which determine somebody's holistic quality of life in rural India. I would presume also in urban India, but anyway, we are doing only rural India right now. And within these, we took a total of 69 indicators. Now, you can say why 69, why not 73, and so on and so forth. to a great extent, it was also determined by what data is available. I can't manufacture data. Yes, our mandate was to only use administrative data. We could not use private data. That was given to us, the administrative data. So we found, and number two, the data has to be by district. So every district had to have data. Number two is that it cannot be district data, it had to be rural data. We cannot use just district data. The data had to be urban-rural differentiated, right? So we found 69 indicators which had this data, which was just available for rural for all the districts in the country, including Meghalaya. And you can see all these sources were used, right? We'll give you a live demo of this because you're going to make something like this tomorrow, by the way. So please pay attention because tomorrow exercise is to create another index for Meghalaya directly. There were two scales. Now, this is very important to understand, though it might not be useful for tomorrow, but please understand why two scales are important. We found out there are 707 rural districts in the country. Okay? Rest of them are all urban districts. So, 707, so there is something called a national scale where your rank or your marks is compared with all the other 706 districts. Total of 707 districts, how you have scored or what is your rank vis-a-vis all the other 707 districts. So, this is what is the national scale. Suppose this particular district's rank is 432. So, this is 432 out of 707, right? Then you had something like a state scale. A state scale is, we are no longer looking at all the national scale. We are looking at only, say this is Bihar?
Rajasthan.
This is Rajasthan. Rajasthan has how many districts? Let's say Rajasthan has 30 districts, just suppose, right? So, this is how this district of Rajasthan has done vis-a-vis the 30 districts of Rajasthan. Not the 707 districts of India. So, the scale also changes. 707 districts may topper is different, bottom is different, right? Within Rajasthan also the top is different, the bottom is different, right? So, your relative ranking also will change. So, why was this important? Let's go. Why was this important? Look at the right hand side. This is Meghalaya. This is rural quality of life, everything all together, all 69 indicators together. All 69 indicators together, how has the individual districts done in Meghalaya? It's been divided into pentiles. It's been divided into, if you've scored 81 to 100, it's this color, 61 to 80 is this color, the green is this color, orange is this. So, this is bad, this is good. This is low rank, this is bad rank, high rank, right? So, here, it wasn't very bad, it was right here. Some of the districts on the eastern side were here, then the districts on the western side was here. So, at an all India level, this is the picture based on the all India scale, right? Now, I am a district magistrate or I am an ADC person who has been given charge of planning. Does a picture like this really help me? It is just two colors.
Now, how would you differentiate?
I want to differentiate. Is there a difference between this, or maybe this? Can it be a little bit more? Right. So, then that is when the state scale comes into it. The national picture you have already done, forget about it. If you look at the state scale, then you see more colors. The highest pattern of development is this, here, then the next highest is here, the next highest is here, there is one over here and the lowest is there in terms of the overall scale. Now, this differentiation is important for a magistrate to understand or an ADC planner, a policy planner to understand that this differentiation is okay. Then what I am really trying to say is that I really need to concentrate on these first, then possibly this later, right? Next level, okay, this is I can understand overall quality of life. Do I know which sectors they have done badly and which sectors they have done better? You want to do this from the dashboard? This is again why the dashboard, why preparing a dashboard made it very easy for, we have shown this to government, we have shown this to political leaders and all that, why it's intuitively very easy to understand. So it is, this is like this. You've got home, you've got resources, you've got dashboards. We'll show you the resources later, but the main dashboard is like this. You've got the LGD codes, you've got state ranks. These are ranks on the basis of overall score, overall national scale, and it's got, everything is ultimately scaled down to 100 to 0. The worst performance is 0 and the best performance is 100. It has been scaled to 100 to 0, and so this is how it goes.
Do you remember the LGD codes that we were talking about this morning? That these are geography specific unique codes given by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj. So every state, every district, every sub-district up to a village has an LGD code. LGD stands for Local Government Directory.
Right. And this automatically changes, like the majority of India falls under this orange 21 to 40 category. Obviously the best, some of the better states are here. I think this is what, Tripura? Yeah, this is Mizoram. Okay, this is Mizoram. Sikkim is doing quite well. Haryana and Punjab is doing quite well. Gujarat is quite well. Kerala, Karnataka is quite well. Yeah. So it goes like this. You can zoom in and it gives you all that. It gives you percentage of districts. Gives you customized scores. There is something called a customized view, where you can select an all India level or you can select individual states. Select a pillar. It is an overall pillar. So that means all the 9 indicators taken together, and you have obviously chosen map. Then what you can do is that if you, on the customized view, if you have chosen Meghalaya, then it will only automatically show you Meghalaya. Okay, it will show you Meghalaya. You can scroll here and find out. You're still doing the national scale, right? So you can select Meghalaya and do this. Another thing that you can do is that you can say that, okay, I don't want to look at the national scale anymore. I will want to select only on the state scale. You're still selecting overall. Overall means all the 9 pillars together, and you're selecting map. So by state scale, it gives you this. Then you might say that, okay, I'm only interested in agriculture. Right, I don't want to look at all 9. Tell me what is happening in India in agriculture. So it gives you, all the time the ranks are also changing, everything is changing and the maps are changing. What is here is also here, right? And agriculture, Punjab, Haryana is obviously supposed to be very high. So it is there. Or in the state scale, you might select economic ability and employment. This is how it is happening in Meghalaya. You can say that I don't want to look at it in a map, I want to look at it in a chart. It can show you like this. Where you hover over and to give you all the details. You can say that I'm not interested in everything, I just want to see the top 10, bottom 10. Anyway, for Meghalaya, top 10, bottom 10 doesn't make it, should have been top 5, bottom 5. But it will, suppose it was UP. UP has 75 districts. Yes? So you might want to look at top 10, bottom 10, top 5, bottom 5, and so on and so forth. Or you might say that I don't want to be interested in chart, I want to look at the raw data. So it gives you exactly the raw data in the back end. For all the indicators in agriculture, or all the indicators together, it gives you the data.
So when you've selected overall, go back. When you've selected overall as a pillar and you are on the data view, it will give you the overall scores as well as the scores for all the pillars.
All the pillars.
And when you've selected a particular pillar of interest, it will give you the overall pillar score
and all the indicators that are under this pillar.
Values.
And the best part of it is that you can download the data. You can go download here. It will download for you in Excel, and you can do your own analysis after that. Right? So this is another way of looking at administrative data and creating a dashboard which helps people.
We'll just play the tutorial for you.
To create a railroad roadmap for districts, this email, modify and run. Dashboard recording. Hello user, welcome to the Rural Point of Life Index dashboard. This dashboard has been developed on behalf of the Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, by the Development Intelligence Unit. with the aim to come out with a planning and monitoring tool for creating a development roadmap for the district. This index qualifies and ranks 707 rural districts of India on the basis of providing a decent quality of life for its citizens. This rural quality of life dashboard represents each district in the country by its overall score, which is derived from the district's performance across 9 different pillars, that is, agriculture, economic ability and employment, education, gender, governance, health and nutrition, infrastructure and community, social security, and sustainability and resilience. This video is a very good tutorial on how to use this dashboard. Before we start using the dashboard feature, we would like to encourage you to visit the Resources tab. There you will find, in addition to the report version of this index, 2 more documents. One is the definition of state scheme and national scheme, while the other is indicator construct. It is imperative that as a user, you read these 2 documents and then start a detailed mining exercise using the various features of this dashboard. On this homepage of the Rural Quality of Life dashboard, there are 3 sections. On the left side, you can see a data view consisting of all the districts that are part of the assessment. And on the right side, you can see a map representation of each district. Each district is color-coded based on its position across category distribution, which is determined by the relative score it has to use. For example, if a district got a score of 0 to 20, category 1, then it is color-coded in yellow. And if a district got a score between 20 and 40, category 2, it is color-coded in orange. If a district got a score between 40 and 60, it is color-coded in green, and so on. Hence, values of 20, 40, 60, and 80 have been considered in the high category. So, anything less than 20 falls in the first category, while a score equal to 20 or above, but less than 40, is counted in the second category, and so on. On the left side, you can see the data view. You can list the PLGD group, which is the unique ID for each district given by the government, the state to which the district belongs, the district name, and the overall score the district has got in the assessment. This data view is also the presented for the overall score. Above the data table, there is an option of customizing the view of the rural quality of life dashboard. For example, right now, the view gives the representation of the entire nation, that is, all 707 rural districts. If you want to shortlist the districts belonging to a particular state, for example, Gujarat, you can go and select the Gujarat district here. The grid automatically changes to show only those districts that belong to Gujarat. And then the map representation also changes to show the state of Gujarat and then those individual districts. The districts are color-coded based on their score and position in a category distribution. As you would have already read by now, there are 2 types of scores. One is the score at the national level, that is, how each district has progressed against the scale that takes into consideration all 707 rural districts in the country. The other is the state scale, that is, it looks at the relative progress of the district in comparison to the other districts within the state only. Yes, while using the national scale, you can see that most of the districts of Gujarat have scored in the range of 60 to 80 and 80 to 100, category 4 and 5, and all of them are shown in their respective category colors. But, for planning purposes, you might want to capture the final resolution between each of those districts in the state. For this, we have to go to the customized view menu and select the state scheme. Now the trick changes to show the relative progress of the district of Gujarat as per the state scheme. We have used a different color code for the state categories to distinguish between the national and state schemes. Now, you can switch between the national and state level schemes for individual schemes. Not just that, if you want to drill down further and bring a clear score, You can do that as well. So instead of showing the overall score based on an accurate position in targeting all 9 results, you may want to see how the district has performed the individual results. Let us first go back to the all India map and then go to the next. If you select agriculture, you will see that the entire map representation changes based on the scores related to the pillar of agriculture. Similarly, the data brings all the changes. Now we see all the districts in the descending order of the scores listed for agriculture. Again, we can do the same thing for individual fields. For example, if you want to see how different districts in Uttar Pradesh are performing in economic ability and employment figure using the state scale, you simply select Uttar Pradesh, select the state scale, and under the figure, select economic ability and employment. Now, you can see all the districts in Uttar Pradesh and their relative progress based on the state scale for this figure. Let us come back to Gujarat through the lens of the state scale. Here now, we have seen the representation in the form of map, but we also visualize this data, overall scores or individual figure scores, as a bar chart. For that, you simply go and select the chart option here. All the individual districts are displayed in the grid, and the bar chart is displayed on the graph. Again, the color of the bar chart is based on the score received by each district and the relative position in the category grid. Therefore, a score of 84.01 for Rajkot district, which puts it between 80 and 100, reflects the color of the fifth category in the state scale. Whether it be a map or a chart, one can simply place the cursor over any district and click to get the district code and the scale score between 0 and 100. If you are not interested in looking at all the districts, you are only interested in looking at the top 5 or top 10, we have a subset option available. You click on the top and then by default, it only shows you the top 10 districts. Similarly, you can select the bottom 10 districts. You have the option of selecting top 5, top 10, top 20, or bottom 5, bottom 10, and bottom 20 districts, for all the winners and all the states. If we take the example of a large state like Uttar Pradesh, and you want to see the top 20 districts, you can do this in a map view or chart view. It makes life simple for the user. Another feature for this dashboard is that we can always see the complete data, be it the overall score or different districts, as well as individual figure values within each of these districts. This can be done by simply creating a construct, say Gujarat, state scale, overall, and then selecting the data option. Now, you see all the districts of Gujarat are displayed in the descending order of overall score. But at the same time, you can also see the different figure scores for agriculture, economic ability and employment, education, gender, etc. We can also make one level further. If you want to see what are the individual indicators that contributed to the overall figure score, we can also do that. You simply have to go and select the individual figure for which you want to have access to the raw indicator map, and then select the data visualization. Let us take, for example, the education figure. Now you can see there are the raw values of individual indicators under the education figure. And there is the composite index score that forms the overall figure score for each district. One may know that the overall figure score is the standardized and scaled 0 to 100 score, whereas these indicator values are all actual values which were compiled from various sources. Details about this are mentioned in the footnotes here. And if you want to download all these data for all the 707 districts and do some offline analysis, you can also do that using the download option provided here. If you press down, you will receive the data as an Excel worksheet. We hope this video has been helpful in using and navigating the dashboard. With that, we're signing off.
Did you find it interesting? Did you actually find it interesting, or you're just saying it for the sake of saying it? I think this for the sake.
It's been 8 months of our time, so our life.
Okay. Now suppose you have downloaded all the data set, or you're navigating through this index, through this dashboard.
So please understand why we are showing you this and why it's important, because this is exactly what you have to do tomorrow.
How do you read the index? How do you make sense of the data that you have downloaded? Let's take the case of East Denshire Hills. We have the national scale figures here. Now overall, the district's rank as per the national scale, all India, was 162 out of 707. Right? And it was falling in the third pentile, the third category. That means its score was somewhere between 40 to 60. That's why it was falling in the third category. Now, if you look at why its overall rank was 162, was because how it was faring in other pillars as compared to other 766.
So education, economic ability and employment, and agriculture and health and nutrition, it had done quite badly. Social security, it had done quite badly, but it had done very well in sustainability and climate change, very well in infrastructure. They did not have any governance data, and fairly well in gender, right? So if they had not done so well in these three indicators, their position would have been even worse. But 162 is not bad in a national scale.
But now if you look at the state scale, that means you are comparing this particular district with other 11 districts.
So what we are going to do tomorrow is that we are going to create a composite index on the basis of the state scale. Tomorrow we won't have time to generate data for all 700 districts in the country. We are only going to generate data for the 12 districts here, right? That too, whatever data is available. Even if you can find 10 indicators, fine. Even if you find 8 indicators, that's fine. We want to look at indicators from different sectors and create a composite index, right? That's the output is creation of the composite index. The validity of the output is not important. Clear? But this is how you have to interpret it. Yes.
Yeah. But now some of you might note here that we have taken 11 districts rather than 12 in this state, because the 12th district was formed after a cut-off date that was given to us by the ministry. So that is why we have considered 11 of them here.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the rank of the district, East Denshire at the state scale, that means you are comparing that particular district with other 11 districts in this, other 10 districts in the state. The overall rank is number 2 out of 11, which is very good. Its categories, it's falling in the 5th pentile. Now, if you look at...
You remember the pentile classification, right? 0 to 20% was 1, 20 to 40 was 2, 40 to 60 was 3, 60 to 80 was 4, and more than 80 was 5. So, if you have rank 1, that's really bad. You're in the bottom 20%, right? Rank 2 is slightly better, but rank 5 is
not rank,
good.
Pentile or category?
Pentile, I mean, you're not ranked, but if you're in pentile 5, it's really good. You're in the top 80%.
Now, if you want to look at, what is the possible reason that why you are overall, why you are at number 2, means what are the pillars that are pulling you up and what are the pillars that are pulling you down. You see, in agriculture, you are at 5 out of 11. In economic ability and education, you are at, in economic ability, you are the last district. In education, you are at number 8 out of the 11.
11 out of 11 means 11th position out of 11. That's the last position, right?
And in sustainability, you are number 1 out of 11, right? 1 of 11 is first.
Yes.
So your first year, your 5th year, your 2nd year, your 3rd year, there was no data available under the governance pillar. So we'll drop it for now. You were at number 4 in gender. So that means these 2 pillars were pulling you down.
The 2 pillars which was really bringing down East Jaintia Hills vis-a-vis the other 10 districts was these 2 pillars. So automatically, if I am a development planner, my first intention is that I have to focus my investments here. Okay.
Now let's look at what is happening under the economic ability and employment pillar. what are the indicators that are pulling that pillar down and what are the indicators that are pulling that pillar up. Now, these were the indicators that we had considered in the construction of the index. So, for example, how many deprived households have been considered in the skill development programs? How were the, PMKVY, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana? It's a skill building and capacity building scheme of the central government. How many of those candidates were placed? What is the participation in self-help groups?
So what we did is that we simply took the median value, the mean value, the mean value for the state, right? We didn't look at the mean value nationally. We just took the mean value of the states and we looked at these indicators. Economic ability and employment had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 indicators.
So right. That means the state average here for this indicator was 3. Here it was 33.
So we did not even say whether 3% to begin with is good or bad. 3% itself is bad, but that's okay. We took the middle value and say that is our district even worse than the state average or not.
So if you look at East Denshire Hills value for these indicators, it was this. Now when you compare the district's values with the state average, wherever the value was lower than the state average, we have presented it with a red color.
This should be red. This should not be green.
Oh yes, this should be red. My bad. And wherever the value was higher than the state average, wherever the district value was higher than the state average, we have shown it with a green color. So you see, it's only in the 4 indicators where the value for the district was higher than the state average. For 3 of the indicators, the value was simply not available, and for rest of the indicators, it was performing poorer than the state average.
So you can argue that if the state average for participation in deprived households in skill development program is only 3%, then you can say that as a state it is very bad. But we said that okay, we are not talking about changing the entire state right now, we are talking about changing the district. So at least let the district be more, at least up to the state average or more than the state average. So it was even below the state average. So you've seen what we are trying to say is that first you have identified which are the pillars or thematic areas, and you have identified economic ability and employment and education are the true critical pillars which are the reasons why.
Then under the specific pillar, we are looking at
under economic ability and employment, those are the 4 or 5 things which you have performed really badly. Next. And under education, almost everything is performed very badly.
Barring just one indicator, proportion of schools with functional electricity. So overall, 16% of the schools on an average in the state had access to functional electricity, while in East Denshire Hills, it was 21% the schools that had functional electricity. Similarly, we have taken the case of West Garo.
National scale chhod do. National scale is not important. State scale. See, West Garo Hill had a bigger problem. There it was only just 2 pillars, right? Here there are 4 pillars. Which are the problem?
So we have taken education and sustainability as.
We have just taken 2 as an example.
Yeah.
And within them, this is how you find out. This is exactly how we will do the analysis tomorrow when we generate. Okay? I think it's 3:30, it's time for tea,
Let's
right?
break for tea.
Is it?
Joy is not around.
What time was tea? Can someone just check the...
I think it was 3:45.
3:45? Because if I start this...
No, so we can engage in extracting the data. Do we have 15 minutes and maybe panels?
Go ahead. Panels I'll talk about last.
Okay, so let's visit Mission Antyodaya and these data sources, and let's start digging out data from here. And we can also go and visit the state specific website.
No,
so
iska jo data hai that we can give them.
Let them know.
No, we'll use the mission Antyodaya data to do sectoral analysis.
Right.
Right,
Okay.
and we'll use this data to do the composite index analysis.
Right. So maybe they can start with state-specific websites for data.
But as you said, education does not have, but health has. So why waste time? Let's go to the mission Antyodaya data and extract. Let's extract data, right? One exercise which you will have to do, maybe call a few people and all that before you come in tomorrow, is that you have to tell us which departments have their websites. Yeah? Which department has their own website?
So not all of them have their laptops either.
So can a few more people bring their laptops tomorrow? Is it possible? Because even if we have about 4 or 5 laptops here, that should be enough. We can break into groups. If there's just 3 laptops, then the group becomes too big. Just try. I mean, one person can use my laptop. That's fine.
Sure. Say another one can use my laptop.
No, you can't use your laptop. Your laptop has to be connected.
But while they are extracting the data,
okay, this is something which you will have to do tomorrow. Please understand. From Mission Antyodaya, we are going to break up into groups and do sector level analysis. Like for example, agriculture. We are going to write a small paper about the status of agriculture in Meghalaya, for which the content you will decide. Can we do district level comparative? We will choose 7, 8, 10 indicators from here or from any other source, and we will rank districts. That this is how the districts are ranking for these indicators. Together in agriculture, this is what the status is for that. But for that, we will generate. Go on. See, these are the indicators to choose from. We will see libraries and pisciculture has only 2-3 indicators. We will not choose that. But markets and fairs is also not so important. But
health and sanitation, women and child.
Yeah.
You can go for social welfare as well, or poverty alleviation programs.
We will divide into groups and we will extract that. Let's try poverty alleviation programs. So suppose one group is poverty alleviation programs, right? So you will get this overall and then.
So you cannot access the data from here. You will have to go to the data download part, enter those credentials and get the link on your email to download the data. You'll also have to download the MA 2020 questionnaire, because only then you will be able to make sense of the response codes like 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So for example, if I were to open up the MA data for you,
is all data.
Yeah. Everything for Meghalaya. So we were starting from the agriculture was starting from here, from households until I'll show you the questionnaire as well. You see, the agriculture pillar is starting from number of households engaged majorly in farm activities, and it has a list of parameters until does the village have access to custom hiring centers, and there are some indicators under the land improvement and minor irrigation. Maybe we can club these two pillars, because it also this
everything
particular
to do
pillar,
with agriculture, then we can might as well do irrigation also. Yes.
Right. irrigation, source of irrigation, livestock extension, animal husbandry. So maybe we can have one status report for agriculture and allied activities. Fisheries is here, rural housing. So maybe until number 32, that means until aquaculture, we can have one parameter. So when you go to the Excel, navigate to the column giving you details for aquaculture. Yeah. See here we are getting kacha, that means until column BC. So maybe we can select a couple of indicators amongst the host of these 37 or 40. Yeah. Indicators, and then
so can they
create a
instead of downloading data all the way down to the village level, can they download data up to the district level?
No. But we have that aggregated data up to the district level.
How?
We got it from NIC, remember?
No, not for RQL. We are not using RQL. But here the problem is
it's all aggregated too.
So they'll have to add.
They'll have to add.
Physically, okay.
You see that there is the village name also mentioned here. So if you are working at a district level, you will have to aggregate data right down from the village up to the district level.
So district is East Garo Hills.
Yeah. So
right. So all for the East Garo Hills, we will have to have one total.
So if I put a filter here and I select a particular district, it has 486 villages. There are 486 villages in this district.
So we'll have to total for 486. Just at the bottom, we'll just have aggregates.
Or maybe we can figure out, how many villages in this district have a response code of 4. That means they have access to seat centers within 5 to 10 kilometers or within 2 to 3 kilometers. So should we start doing this now? Because tomorrow we will be focusing only on generating these sectoral reports. So we can use
start what? I mean, if they don't have their laptops, then how will we do it?
That's the thing. That's why I was asking we can get some more laptops. Maybe we have just stalled.
So you have basically understood, right? Like for example, we are going to concentrate primarily on infrastructure. Let's say if we take agriculture as a then one question could be how many has a milk के ऊपर क्या है data?
Milk chilling collection centers.
How many have a milk collection center or a milk chilling center? Right, there is a question. So there will be two questions linked to this. Number one is, does the village have it? Yes is one and 2 is no.
Availability of milk routes? Yeah, that was one.
If it is and if it is not available, then the distance they might have a question. Right. So we here will then decide on an indicator. We'll decide on an indicator that if the village has, that's well and good. But if it doesn't have, but if it is within 2 kilometers, that is also okay. So we will filter the data for all those where they had said yes they have it, or if they said no they don't have it, but if it is within, let's say, 2 kilometers, that is also acceptable. Anything beyond 2 kilometers
will not be
considered, right? And then we'll create that variable and we'll just simply add it for the entire district. So we are going to create our own indices. We are going to create our own indicators for every district. It is not as complicated as this. I mean, I can guarantee you that 10-12 indicators we can finish in half an hour. That's all it will take. We just have to debate what is the indicator. And since all of you have been dealing with data, you should be able to debate. And what I want you to think that you know Meghalaya far better than the two of us. So let us select indicators which are relevant to Meghalaya. Right, which is useful for Meghalaya. Okay, so we can do this. it's just 7 minutes or 6 minutes left. There's no point in
Joy said that tea will be ready by 4.
You called her?
No, she texted. She is still in a meeting, so she just messaged me.
Okay. So any before we get into something new, any questions till now? Come on, there cannot be
no questions. No questions could only mean one thing. And I don't want to say it.
Tomorrow is going to be all exercises. We have been told very clearly that there has to be exercises and they want to see outputs. So tomorrow we're going to have fun. It's going to be a lot of fun creating things like this. That's not a problem. Both the sectoral analysis and the composite analysis will have composite index development. So that would be fun and all that. But we'll try. There has to be some more laptops. How many laptops do we have here today?
I think 3.
You have one?
has 1, 2. And I think these 2 folks also had it. Went.
You had your laptop, right? You have a laptop. So that's 3
plus
4,
2,
5. I have 1 which is 6.
plus 1, 7.
No, yours have to be here connected.
Okay. 6. Okay, we can have group of 5.
Yeah, that should be okay.
So if every group has 1 laptop, that should be doable.
And remember, it is not only the question of creating the index. You are all professionals who work here, so you have to interpret the data. Right? You have to write a little bit. Imagine it's going to be a PowerPoint presentation. So we'll have a graphics, but we'll at least have 2 lines below the graphic which will tell us why this data is like this. What does it mean? All of you should know your own state. So you should be able to interpret the findings. Yes? Okay. So what do you want to do?
We can start panels. Samodhi panels.
Remember before the last break, I think before the lunch break, I was telling you guys something that imagine a situation where you can actually set up a call center. You remember? You want to know why I said so? It's because there is another thing which both of us are engaged in along with a few other people, which is called Samodhi panels. We realized that if everybody has to spend a hell of a lot of money to do huge surveys, which takes 3 months, 4 months time, then nothing will get done. All across the world, the developed part of the world, major surveys are all done through telephone. And today, nobody can say that if you're doing telephonic survey, you're only hitting urban India. No. There are enough smartphone penetration in rural India as well. Right? So why can't we are not saying it has to be statistically the best sample size. But we are saying that if you can do quick surveys through telephones on certain topics which are very important for people to understand, or for you to take some sort of a policy advocacy decision, then why not think in terms of setting up a small call center of 7, 8, 10 people, right? And who over a span of 2 weeks or 3 weeks can easily do a survey, rural, urban, mixed survey of 5,000, 6,000 people. They can easily do 5,000 people. So 5,000 people to all India. Say 2,000 people, 2,500 people here in Meghalaya. You can get very incisive and intuitive data on a lot of topics. This has been done on a regular basis. I can send you some websites. There is something called a Eurobarometer, which is run by the European Commission. European Commission, which is amalgamation of all the 19 countries. The European Commission runs the Eurobarometer. They do not take any policy decision without doing this research. And it is a call-based research across all European countries. 300, 400, 200, 100 sample size across. Luxembourg is a very small country. It could have a 50, 60 sample size. France is a bigger country. It might have 200, 300 sample size, right? But they run the surveys. There is something called an Afrobarometer, which all the African countries do the same thing through telephone. we are running something called a Sambodhi panels. We do just that. So I want to share with you guys what sort of interesting stuff that can come out of this, right? Hoping that if you ever get a chance to convince your bosses whether it is worthwhile setting up something like this, you don't have to wait to actually undertake a very large survey which will cost a lot of, you have to figure out where the hell is this money going to come from. Telephonic surveys are much quicker, much cheaper, right? It doesn't have to be statistically the most accurate survey. But as long as you correct some background information, male or female, if you correct age, if you can collect occupation, that's good enough. You can do some disaggregated analysis later on, not a problem. So we call this rapid consumer insights. Consumer, don't think consumers is only who's buying a banana or a shampoo. You and I who consume government services are also consumers, right? So for consumer insights, for empowering decision making. The entire idea is to do very small, quick surveys which will feed into the decision making process. Next.
And these basically give us directional insights. It may not be statistically rigorous, but they give us directional insights for policy planning.
Right. So what we do, and this is what you can also do, what we do is that there is something called a Hawthorne effect. Hawthorne effect is that a lot of people do something called a panel survey. Panel survey means you go back to the same person again and again and again and again and ask questions. It has been already proven across the world that panel surveys are a failure. Why? Because they will answer you honestly first time, second time. By the third time you go back to the same person, they will either lie or they will tell you the answer which they think you want to know. They will give you the good answer. They will not give you the honest answer. So this is what is called an Hawthorne effect. That is, if you keep on going back to the same person again and again and again, they don't give you an honest answer, they give you a practiced answer, which is wrong. So instead of that, what we decided was that we have over 1.85 lakh telephone numbers. India, urban, rural, across 22 states. We called up each one of these numbers, asked them whether they would be like to, can I call them back in the future, would they like to participate in national level surveys. Those who people said yes, we've kept them in the panel. But we have not made panels out of it. What we had asked is that we have asked their age. So we have developed two age groups, 18 to 35 and more than 35, young, old. You can't obviously talk to someone who's less than 18 years because there's a lot of permissions and all that which is required. Second thing, we generally noted down what is their gender. Third thing which we noted down was were they the chief wage earner in the family? Were they the primary breadwinner in the family or not? Yes or no? And if yes, then what is their occupation? If no, then what is the occupation of the chief wage earner? And finally, we noted down what is your highest level of education that you have qualified. Right? These four things we noted, and we created baskets. Right? We created baskets. This basket was relatively high income people, high level of education, young and living in urban areas. This area, high education, high income, young but living in rural areas. This is low education, high income, all the combinations and all that, we created baskets. Now next time when we run a survey, we randomly select from each basket to make sure that all of India is represented. If we do a survey through telephone, only two baskets can also be represented. No, and the rest of it we can avoid. So we do quota sampling to make sure that everything is represented. So we do that. That's the entire idea. And because it's a basket, going back to the same person for two surveys, chances are very low. No? Chances are low. If you've got 200 or 300 people in one basket, right, and you're running 12 surveys in a year, there is very little chance that the same person will be repeated. He could be repeated in the 8th survey, but he's definitely not going to be 1 and 2. Yes? So we do something like this. As I said, 1,85,000 curated phone numbers, 8 tier 1 cities, 48 tier 2 cities, over 100 tier 3 cities, 210 districts, 22 states, and we've got our callers. It's easier for Meghalaya is that in India I had to locate people across 20 states because of the language issue. I haven't figured out for Kerala yet. I don't cover Kerala yet, but and all that. In Meghalaya, you just have to have 7-8 people located in Shillong, but recruit people who know the local language of the ADCs, right? That's enough. And then the data is distributed like this: urban, rural, younger, older, male, female, relatively high income, relatively medium income, relatively low income. I'm going to show you, and this is what the next, we'll do some of it and then we'll go down and take a break. I'm going to show you some case vignettes. Case vignettes means some of the findings of some of the studies which we have run using panels, right? I hope, I'm going to go a little fast here, but I hope you find it interesting, because even small, it could be a very large urban-rural mixed survey which is 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 sample, all India, or it could be even, let's say, urban sample on one topic which would be 5,000 sample size, right? In Meghalaya, even a 600-700 sample size, 800 sample size would be enough for you. So I'm going to show you some of the findings, right? Look at this. This was a discussion which and none of these are just because I wanted to do it. It is something which is based on a discussion with somebody in government, right? So we were having a discussion with the Ministry of Health, and they said all the studies which you're doing on fast food consumption, all the studies on fast food consumption is very urban centric. Is very, very urban centric. Do we have any idea whether fast food consumption what fast food consumption is like in rural India, and whether adolescents in rural India is actually becoming obese because of fast food consumption? There is no study that has been done on that. Can you do something like this? So, we did a study on fast food consumption among rural adolescents and tried to measure whether there is a risk of obesity because of fast food consumption. We collaborated with World Bank, Dr. Meera Shekhar. She's the global lead for nutrition in the World Bank. She said, she gave some very scary figures. She said 44% of the world is either overweight or obese. And most of it is coming from the third world countries or developing countries, including India. Obesity. There are several reasons responsible for this, but she said one of the very, very good reasons, and this I didn't think of it earlier. He's saying that everybody keeps on saying that it's lifestyle. Everybody understands that. But she said that if you look at it very, very more clearly, it is also because there are more and more mothers who are working now than earlier. And because mothers are working now, they have less and less time to cook. And that is why automatically the fast foods are getting introduced into their children's diet. Because the children and adolescents cannot cook. So they are supplementing a home cooked meal to this meal. Right? And that's, she acknowledged, while it's a good thing that more and more mothers are working, it's a bad thing for the diet of children and adolescents. I'm just going to share with you, I'm just going to share with you some of the data, right? This is pretty much incredible data, in the sense that I never realized that 87% of the people of rural India adolescents would be consuming chips and kurkure. And this is not Shillong, this is not urban, this is rural. Yes? So 87%, 74% has biscuits, which is obviously not atta biscuits and all that. Chocolates, soft drinks, nearly 30% have soft drinks. This is consumed at least one in the past 7 days. And look at the frequency. Look at the frequency. If you, it is not, at least there is quite a decent bit of it. If you add these two together, if you take chips and kurkure and if you add these two together, this is close to 50%. 50% of the people have at least 2 times. 2 times to 3 times in the past 7 days, right? So these are pretty, when we presented this to the Ministry of Health, they realized that this is pretty alarming data, because we keep on saying that the millets revolution is happening in rural India and healthy eating and all that. That is not true. I mean, even our children in rural areas are eating a lot of garbage. Right, and most of the place of consumption is not that they are going to school and then sneaking out of school and buying a packet of chips. A lot of the consumption is actually taking place at home. So the lot of communication from the government also have to target parents. Right? So some of the broad conclusions with which World Bank and us, we all, I mean, I don't want to spend more time on it. Just wanted to give you my entire idea of presenting these things is that this was a probably 5,500 sample size, right? It took me 2 weeks to gather this information, just 2 weeks, right? And yet, if I didn't do this through a collar-based survey, somebody would have done a 10,000 sample size survey or a 15,000 sample size survey all over India, and it would have taken 6 months to come out. And World Bank had no problem in quoting this data. Government of India had no problem in quoting this data. Okay? Yeah. Marginal farmers must have income diversification research. This is something which is very recently, which we did. This is the Akshay study, right? Yeah. There is a lot of talk going on that there is a promise by the central government that by 2025 they are going to double farmers' income. Yes, all of us read that on television, on newspapers. Double the farming income. So he says, okay, I mean, it's fine. I mean, that's what the government is. What did we say? The government is talking the talk, but are they walking the walk, right? Yeah, are they walking the walk? Is it actually happening or not? So we did a study on marginal farmers. Marginal farmers are people who have less than 1 hectare of land, and we looked at their situation in terms of earning. Has it actually changed? Typically small lands and blah 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 and so on and so forth. Let's look at the data. Another thing you have to understand: 65% of all cultivators in India are marginal farmers. So, but 65% are marginal farmers, but less than 25% of the land is owned by them. They are so only forget about 1 hectare. Their average land holding is only 0.38 hectares, right? And remained constant over the last 40 years, even though their numbers have increased. So they are in a very bad situation in that way. Only the bigger ones, among the marginal farmers, the larger ones have significantly gained in incomes over the last 2 agricultural surveys, right? But the smaller ones, they have hardly had any income whatsoever. What is more interesting is that if you're a farmer and if you're farming, but if nearly 80% of you have to also do wage labor, then that means you're not doing anything from farming, right? You're also doing a lot of things from wage labor. You're doing annual husbandry, you're doing non-agricultural business, vocational business. So they all have a lot of other different things. But most importantly, if you look at this, in the 2012-13 round, 47% was earning from wage labor, and less than 30% was earning from crop production. This 29% has gone down to 23%. That means their earning from crop sales have become less. Their earning from wage labor has become more. So what are we saying here? We are saying our promise is that we are going to double farmers' income. Farmers' increase is going. Farmers' income, even at the lowest level, have improved. 65% are marginal farmers, right? Have improved, but it is not improved because of farming, right? So, is this the promise which we made to them? Probably not, right? So this is and this is probably one of all the reasons. I mean, marginal farmers don't have access apart from the Kisan Samman Nidhi. That's that 6,000 rupees that farmers get. No, I don't know whether you guys are aware, but below a certain category of farmers, they get 6,000 rupees in 3 installments every year. This is a dole which is given by the government. They hardly have access to the key schemes which are there for farmers' welfare. Look at the percentage of access, very, very low for marginal farmers. So, most of the benefits that are being designed to reach farmers are being reached only to the large farmers. The smaller farmers are basically giving up farming and going and doing wage labor, and that is how they are surviving. So, yeah, I'm not going to go about the conclusions. You can read this later. Digital footprint. The question that we had to answer is that, is there really an urban-rural divide? Everybody talks about urban, nobody talks about rural. Is there really urban is so much different from rural? Let's see. According to a report released by the Internet and Mobile Association of India, this is what we talked about, right? Also estimate, look at the second point. Urban estimate growth is 4%, rural estimate is growing by 13%, which implies by 2025 there will be more rural internet users than urban. I told you guys this. Look at this data. Today, 87% of urban areas have an active email ID, but 48% of rural areas also have an active email ID. Urban is 30%, rural is 70%. If you do the maths, this is probably bigger than that. Right? Using WhatsApp at least once a day, 87% urban, but 64% rural. They might not do email, but they certainly are doing WhatsApp. So all your services, government services, financial services, everything which requires you to be digitally connected, companies, insurance companies don't have an excuse anymore. Right? They have people with the internet connectivity or with the digital connectivity waiting for them. So in aggregate, 153 million rural earners can be reached through the email ID, while even more, 203 million can be reached through WhatsApp. And these numbers are certainly significant when considering that digital connectivity has now become a prerequisite for delivery of any financial services. So these are small things that needed. The government posed a question. This question was posed by PFRDA, which is the Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority. Did the small output for them and gave them the data. We do this for policy advocacy purpose. Look at this. Rural entrepreneurship. We have already established just agriculture will not do. But what about people who are doing business in rural India? Is it dying? Is it worth doing business in rural India? Is there a market at all for rural India? We looked at that. Facts. Within a village of, let's say, 600 households, the average number of households where there was someone who was running a business enterprise was 6.3. So 1 in 100 will definitely be a guy or a girl doing business. Right. Nearly 62% of all rural businesses are retail trading, which is expected. Chota dukan hai. Right. 9 out of 10 rural businesses are first generation enterprises. Rural areas, it is not that my father used to do business, so I am doing this business, or is my grandfather passed on to the father, passed on to me, not that. Most of it is first generation that I started or my father started. Right? So this is the basic architecture which is available right now. But are they earning? Yes, they are earning. Look at this. This is there. If you take about 50%, 65-70% are earning between 20,000 to 2 lakhs, right? In the past 6 months. Say this is low, but up to 50,000 is still okay in a rural area. But most importantly, if you look at this chunk, which is over 2 lakhs to 20 lakhs, if you've got about 20% of them, they earn, 1 in 5 earn more than 2 lakhs in the past 6 months, right? Which is more than rupees 1,000 a day, which is more than the 783 rupees per day, which is the wage rate, the skilled wage rate for the National Capital Territory of Delhi, which is the highest in India. Okay, that is the highest in India, and it is even more than that. But are there problems? Of course there are problems. Look at the access. The government keeps on saying that we have so many schemes for entrepreneurs. But it's not reaching the government schemes, reaching rural entrepreneurs is only 4.3%. That's all. This includes all the schemes like Mudra and all the flagship schemes that government has for loans. Despite that, it's so much. And not of it, and if you look at a lot of this, it's private agencies and non-government players who are giving them this access. Right? If you looked at these biggest roadblocks, they still have Very significant roadblocks, including the biggest one that they have is financial sector. If the government has the Mudra scheme, the biggest problem with Mudra scheme is that 70% of the money is being spent by only 2 states, which is Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. I don't know why. But this is supposed to be a scheme which is so easy to access loans by any entrepreneur. It's just not happening. 40% of all the people who we interviewed are saying that the biggest roadblock I'm facing for expanding my business is that I don't have capital to expand and access to government schemes and all that. So, but one of the most significant finding, and this is we found to be very, very interesting, is that we talk to young adults, and you'll be very surprised. 47% of the young males and 38% of the young females say, I don't want to get into agriculture, I want to run a business. And I'm not saying I want to become a teacher or I want to be a government job or something. They want to do business. Right? So if you've got a future which is ready to take on the onus is on the government to create a roadmap which we can help them. Because the demand certainly is there. I'm going to show you a few more interesting ones from this, but I hope you're getting an idea that, with a 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 sample size, you can actually answer some very critical questions based on which policy decisions have to be made. We asked a very interesting question with this. We asked them how many people think that their investment, they think that their children are going to be their support in old age. You'll be very surprised with this data. We asked this question to the parents, and the parents are saying, children would be our support. We asked this to the children, they are saying, no way.
No belonging.
Okay, so fine. Yeah.
Let's continue.
So continuing from where we left off, just a few case studies. Again, but this was an urban-rural mixed sample, a large sample, so it took a sample size of, I think, 15,000. Again, if you were going to do it here, it would have been much less, but this they can read later. Just show them the data. So essentially the idea was that the biggest question that was posed by PFRDA, which is the Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority, is that the new pension scheme, NPS, right? A lot of you might be part of the NPS right now, is not proving to be as popular as they thought. A lot of people, especially the informal sector people, are not buying it. So the problem which they were having is that the formal sector, working for government, at least there is a pension, whether it's a contributory pension or whether they're part of the old pension scheme, that is fine. As far as the non-government sector is concerned, the private sector is concerned, those who are part of big companies, corporate sectors, they can manage. Some of them have their own PFs and so on and so forth. But 80-85% of the people in the private sector don't even work through a contract. They don't even have a contract, right? They don't have any social security. So what they want to do is that outside of people working in government, are people saving enough for retirement? Is India going to get into a situation? India is already in a situation where the old people are living longer, right? People are dying much later than now. People are living for a very ripe old age. 77 years, 87 years, 78 years is now the average, the mean age and all that. That's like 17 years after retirement. So the question that they were posing, they were asking is that, what is going to happen to all these people? How are they going to finance their retirement? What are they thinking? If they don't start saving in something while they are younger, then what happens? Is the government going to be forced to take care of all of these people? The government doesn't certainly have any money to do this. So this is the question. So some of the basic understanding was this: 26 years is the median age where urban India feels people should start thinking about their old age, right? And in rural India, that is 28 years. So 26, urban India thinks that people should start thinking about old age financial security. In rural, that is 28 years. 79% of urban earners have already started saving some for their retirement, right? Only 60%. In rural India, which is larger, only 60% of the people have actually started thinking of and started doing something about their retirement. proportion of urban residents who have started putting aside some money, 73% as far as 18 to 35 is concerned. Obviously, the older age group will be a little bit more active in retirement planning. So, 84% of the people with retirement planning. But if you, these are the people who have at least started putting some money for the retirement fund. If you look at income wise, it drastically comes down at low income level. In low income level, 72% have started putting aside some money. This is urban. In rural, very, very interesting scenario. Much, much lower in terms of proportion of people who are actually putting aside some money for retirement. But most importantly, in rural, it is flip opposite of urban. It is the low income ruralites who are so afraid that what is going to happen to them after retirement. They have already started putting in a little amount of money for retirement. It is the middle income people, people like you and me, we are just not bothered. Right? We are just not bothered. We are, whatever we are earning, we are spending and we are happy. Proportion who expect that their children will take. Now, this is the biggest problem in India. Most studies have shown that while the older generation expect that their children to take care of them, the younger generation do not expect their children to take care of them. That means, behavior-wise, the children is very unlikely to be your financial support. So, we did urban-rural, we did within high income, lower, let's say look within high income, 18 to 35, 49% of children of the younger generation expect their children to take care of them. 57% of the older generation think that their children will take care of them. In rural, even the difference is even starker. The younger people don't think that their children will take care of them. The elder people are still stuck with the idea that, no, my children will take care of me, especially if it's a boy child. So, this is consistent across. You will see everywhere. The younger people are saying, older people are saying that, oh, obviously I have taken care of my children, so they will take care of me. Right? They think their children will take care of them, and therefore they are not investing in any other instrument. No pension instrument, no nothing, no NPS, no nothing, which is a very dangerous place to be. How confident are you that you will be able to save enough? How confident? Just forget about high income. They are more or less 50-60% are confident. Look at this, the low income. Low income is the bulk of India, no? I mean, 60-65% of India would be low income. 70% of India would be low income. Very bad. And look at it in rural areas. 30-32%. That's all. Who today are, it's a theoretical question. That do you think you will be able to save adequate for your old age? They don't think so. So, please understand, recent statistics gives a very clear indication. Today, outside of defense expenditure, outside of Ministry of Defense expenditure, the total pension bill of India, that is people who work in the, how many people work in the formal sector? 6%? 8%? Not more than that. The total pension bill of this 8%, not accounting for defense, is 70% of our GDP. Is 70%. You know what that means? If tomorrow all the people who says pension saying, I don't want my pension, just give me all my money in one shot, all the banks will close, including State Bank of India. Right? So, this is a very dangerous place. And this is my favorite. We ran a survey on Indian consumer sentiment, 2 rounds, May-June round and November-December round. We followed the methodology followed by in the University of Michigan in the United States. They've also followed the consumer sentiment index followed all that methodology. I'm just going to give you, it's a very detailed report, just going to give you some very interesting findings. First of all, what is consumer sentiment? Consumer sentiment is, how a consumer perceives is going to be their financial situation as compared to last year, or how it's going to be next year, vis-a-vis where they think the country is going in terms of economic stability. That influences consumer stability, consumer sentiment. If consumer sentiment is good, then companies are very happy because they will buy more things. If consumer sentiment is bad, then it's very bad for companies. You'll buy less cars, you'll buy less homes, you'll buy less televisions, you'll buy less dishwashers, washing machines, microwaves, everything all goes down. So consumer sentiment in USA is tracked every month. We are tracking it 6 months. The dark pink one is round 1, which is June, and the light pink one is round 2, which is December. The question is very simple, whether current financial situation of self and the household was better off, about the same, or worse off as compared to last year. As compared to last year. We asked those people in round 1, 50.2% said it was better off. In round 2, it is dropped. About the same was the same. Worse, it has gone up, round 2. That means consumer sentiment from round 1 and round 2 has dipped. That was urban, this was rural. It is dipped even more. Look at it, look at the jump. It was 40, it's come down to 29.9. 11 has jumped up to 15. This is as compared to last year. Will it be better off next year? Okay, last year it's been bad. What about next year? Do you expect things to become better next year? You can see, worst has increased, better has come down. So consumer sentiment has come down. It's been even more stark in rural India. See, what happened was, when we did this survey in June, that was immediately after everything started opened up in COVID. In February, everything started opened up, schools started opening up, colleges started opening up, markets started staying up late, people did not have to wear masks all the time. So there was a general feeling of happiness. So it was reflected at, this was hope. But this was all hope. This is reality. They were very happy when everything happens, but over the next 6 months, what happened? Fuel prices went up from 84 rupees to 100 rupees plus, right? Tomato prices, onion prices went up, huge retail inflation kept on happening. Employment is it's not that employment became a problem in 6 months. Employment has been a problem with India ever since independence, so that's a different issue. But the retail problem happened in a very, very big way, right? With price rises, and that is included. So whatever people thought was, yes, things are looking bright, suddenly came crashing down, and consumer sentiment has. So during the next 12 months, what do you think is going to happen? Is going to be good times? In the next, speech में बोलता है ना, our Prime Minister, अच्छे दिन आएगा. Keeps on saying. So is it going to be अच्छे दिन, or is it going to be बुरा दिन, or is it going to be neutral? So everybody in round 1 thought that, and a lot of people in round 1 thought it was going to be अच्छे दिन. It came crashing down in round 2. Very similar. Even in rural India. Is it a good time to, right now, is it a good time to buy stuff like TV? Forget about cars or refrigerator or houses. TVs, refrigerators, and new furniture and things like that. Is it a good time to buy things like that for your home right now? See, the trend is very consistent. 70% good time, 30% bad time. Now it's 60% good time, 40% bad time. So they are reviewing their position. They are changing their position. They think that it's become very risky right now to make certain things. So conclusions is what I was kept on telling you. Between round 1 and round 2, where round 1 there was a lot of hope, round 2 there is a lot of reality. It's a reality check. The consumer sentiment has come down. So let's see what the next round will show. So this is what I wanted to just show you guys, right? Pan-India surveys have different sample sizes based on scope and coverage, right? For surveys covering both urban and rural India, sample size could be 10,000, 12,000, 15,000. Longitudinal tracks could be 15,000. For rural surveys, it could just be 5,500, 6,000. In case of Meghalaya, a sample of 600 to 800 would be enough. Enough. This would be give invariable method of getting insightful feedback on policy issues without resorting to a large-scale survey. I mean, let's give you brass tacks. Okay, suppose you've got 10 callers, right? You find them some office space. You give them dedicated line, or you say that you use your own mobile phone. We will pay you for the SIM, right? So that's a 200 rupee investment per month. You pay these guys, say 18,000 rupees a month, right? And they do one survey for you, they can do 2 surveys for you in 1 month. So if you pay them 18,000 rupees, you're actually giving an expenditure of 1.8 lakhs, let's say 2 lakhs with the SIM cards, and getting outputs of 2 surveys with these guys sitting in your office. Whereas if you had done this face to face outside, and face to face will require a much larger sample size, your probably expenditure would be 25-30 lakhs. So this becomes a much cheaper and a much better option of getting things done. So, and as I said, phone numbers are commercially available right now. What will they do? They will do 10 calls, out of which 3 people will agree to the survey, right? 3 people will agree to the survey, baki 7 will be wasted. It doesn't matter. All they're doing is just phone calling, no? That's it. So it works. In fact, I had said 5 people should be more than enough for you guys to run surveys. Okay?
Yeah.
So you want to tell them what's there for tomorrow?
Okay, you go ahead with that.
Okay, so tomorrow, today's session is over. Okay? So session is over, but before you guys leave, I just wanted to, depending on the number of laptops which we can manage tomorrow, we'll break up either in 4 groups or 5 groups or 6 groups. What we are going to do tomorrow is that first, we are going to look at Mission Antyodaya data, right? Mission Antyodaya data, we are going to download the Mission Antyodaya data and create sectoral reports. So one group will pick one sector, another group will pick another sector, another group will pick another sector. We will be working with you guys continuously. We are going to make sectoral reports. The report will be in the form of a PPT, a PowerPoint presentation, right? 10, 12, 15 pages, that's as simple as that, right? And some interpretation. This will be the first half. The second half is going to, we are going to use the, remember the tutorial which we showed you, the Rural Quality of Life Index? We are going to give you access to the data, the raw data, and we are going to take some indicators from there and some indicators which we will search from other websites available
State government websites.
From the state government, and we are going to create our own quality of life index, and we are going to create a composite index. We will tell you the technique to create a composite index, and we are going to rate districts based on that composite index, and that will be our output. That we are going to create our own composite index, weighted index. Okay, these are going to be the 2 major outputs which we are going to be creating tomorrow.
Those of us who have laptops and will be carrying it tomorrow, please see you have Excel installed with you. If not Excel, maybe LibreOffice. It's an open source software. So if you have Excel, well and good. If not, LibreOffice is something similar to the Microsoft Word, and it has a spreadsheet like feature similar to the Microsoft Excel. Alright? Because we'll do the basic analytics, the basic, the back of the envelope analytics on Excel, and then we'll put all the charts in the PPT.
And remember, we are not going to take 69 indicators. We will take 5, 6, 7 indicators. The technique is important to learn. Yes? Good. I really hope there is not going to be any dropouts tomorrow.
Okay. So should we call it today?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.